I've noticed something. Change isn't always a good thing. Sometimes we like things the way they were. We like the old way of doing things. And we just don't enjoy the way things are working out. Hello, this is Thinking Out Loud with Ian Currey. Come on, let me tell you what I think. I'm one of those people who loves to try new things and new ways of doing things. I've been described many times as being Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, but there's something in there that doesn't quite fit. I remember reading Winnie the Pooh stories to the boys long ago, and there's a story where Rabbit finally has had enough and makes a plan to get Tigger unbounced. I must have told the story well because I can remember two pairs of eyes tearing up and asking, "Well, Daddy, does that mean Tigger can't be Tigger anymore? Daddy, you see, without his bounce, Tigger would be just like everyone else." And that simple word picture of Tigger, shoulders slumped, walking away with a face longer than his tail, I can still see all these years later. Tigger didn't stay debounced long, of course. Children's stories don't end that way, thankfully. But what about us grown-ups? When things change and we can't be who we were designed to be, it can affect us deeply, can't it? I said I like change. Well, I do, but, I like some things to be the same. When things change too much, things gang up and make life very difficult, don't they? I walked into the model railway room the other day to see if I could take a few pictures. Things were rather more dusty in there than usual, and it was cold. I put the light out and did something else instead. I just didn't feel like it. So something I really enjoy, I wasn't interested in at all that day. Now there's an alarm bell for sure. I felt a little bit sad too. I knew the train should be cheering me up, but instead I really wasn't interested in them. Hilary made me some toast and hot chocolate, and I sat wondering what was wrong long enough for the chocolate to get cold. And although I was tired, I still lay in bed that night thinking and wondering about things that I really couldn't decide on. I didn't come to a conclusion. And have you ever felt like that? I found that if I wallow too long in a sad place like that, things get really dark way too quickly. I often turn to the Bible for encouragement, but although I really enjoy that, it too can feel like a dusty book sometimes instead of something alive like it usually is. Recently I was feeling especially useless. Now, I know where to look to help cheer me up in times like that, but this time when I looked, I got a couple of surprises. Let me show you. Now, you might remember how I tend to notice things around the thing I'm looking at, and it's the same when I'm looking at the Bible, and that tends to help set things up sometimes. Well, take a look at this. Psalm 40 is one of the places that's very famous, and it's a comforting part of the Bible. And it says, "He lifted me out of the pit of despair, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on solid ground and steadied me as I walked along." Nice, eh? But it's easy to pick these nice bits and then sit back and say, well, that didn't work, and go and get all gloomy like Eeyore. But this time I noticed the verse right before. "I waited patiently for the Lord to help me, and he turned to me and heard my cry." I waited patiently. These things can take time. Getting our bounce back sometimes isn't an instant fix thing. And in the meantime, I for one can feel pretty useless. There are a couple of good places to look though in the meantime. One of my favourite in dark days is Psalm 34. And there are a good number of thoughts there that have helped me. For example, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. You can have a read of the rest of Psalm 34 later if you like. There's a lot of good stuff there. But what can you do when you're just feeling blah? Here's a few things that I do. I write things down. Now, I'm not great at it, but keeping a journal helps. Actually, looking at some of my notebooks, you can tell the times I was feeling good or sad. When I'm sad, it looks like a spider crawled across the page instead of a pen. But writing things down helps me. I put ideas on paper to revisit later. I write down how I'm feeling, the problems I'm facing, and things I plan on doing later. Some great solutions to all sorts of things come from these notes. Ask yourself questions, the what-if stuff, and even if you don't have answers now, those written questions can help you remember to think about answering later. I talk to someone. No, not in a gossipy way. None of that, oh, isn't it awful stuff. That just makes it worse. But talk to someone who'll listen and be patient with you. Hillary has a great pair of ears, but others too. Not just your partner. They might get fed up too. But that's okay. I think. But I try to think of something new. Don't keep replaying the past over and over. And if I don't know what to think of, I try to work out how something works. Recently, a blast pipe on a steam engine, for example. It's very clever and stupidly simple at the same time, by the way. Be curious. Intentionally take an interest in something new. I got a sewing machine, and that's something new. Made some curtains. Now, I have to work out how to fix a sewing machine. The future may be scary, but focusing on new things that are relatively easy to master may help. Intentionally notice good things. However small they may seem, those small things add up in a hurry. Another rather encouraging place in the Bible I've often turned is Isaiah chapter 41, and this is helpful when we're looking at something daunting. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand. But again, when you're feeling useless, those don't be afraid, for I am with you things sometimes don't quite cut it, do they? Many of my friends have gone through huge changes in the past year or so because they work in places that have changed or in situations that are not at all what they once were. And here's where that surprise I told you about comes in. When I was reading this "don't be afraid" part, I noticed what was written right before it. It just seemed to address neatly in a few words the situation so many of us who work around the world sometimes feel. Let me show you. I have called you back from the ends of the earth, saying, you are my servant, for I have chosen you and will not throw you away. I have chosen you and will not throw you away. Now I hope perhaps you've found this video helpful and encouraging. And if you have, take time to share it with someone, a friend perhaps that may really be encouraged by watching it. Are you a good pair of ears to someone? Do you value people? How about you? Do you value you too? Sometimes just knowing you are not alone in the way you feel can help, can't it? Until next time, goodbye.